Good morning. I thought I would take you along and show you what it's like to have a flower farm and how my morning is spent cutting, arranging the flowers. So here we are in the morning. It is best to harvest in the morning, obviously, just so that your flowers don't wilt. And it's so peaceful. The birds are awake and it doesn't seem like the rest of the world is yet. So I really, really enjoy these mornings in the garden. So I'm just going to take you along. I run a small flower farm. It's more of a hobby, but it is my third year doing it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed selling flowers just at our local store we have in our community. And yeah, it's been a real joy to have this little hobby flower farm. So today it is late spring, so we don't have a ton of perennials blooming and no annuals blooming yet. So these are just mostly the late spring flowers. So I'm just going to take you along. We have peonies that are budded up, and I'm going to take you along and show you what it's like to just spend a morning with me. So of course, coffee is how I start my mornings. Filling up my cup, getting my snips, getting a bucket, and venturing outdoors. The flower farm is closer to the road, but most of the things that are blooming are near the house in our yard. So here we are at the front yard. These peonies were quite established when we moved in. They're quite old. They give me maybe 40 blooms per bush. I have since planted a ton more peony plants, but none of them are blooming because they are just too immature at the moment, but I'm waiting for them for future years. And then another plant I have is goutweed, or it's called bishop's weed. I have heard that people say it can spread and take over, but I'm just going to monitor it and see how it does in my space. But it does give off these beautiful blooms that look like false Queen Anne's lace. So I'm going to keep it and just sort of keep my eye on it and see if it's a friend in the garden. And then another ground cover is Artemisia's silver brocade, and I love this plant. This year it's sending up shoots that are quite tall and long, and it doesn't wilt in the vase. So I'm definitely loving this for a filler and a foliage in my bouquets right now. Definitely love the silvery gray texture of the leaves. I think it's just stunning. And then of course it's not late spring without ranunculus. These are putting off so many blooms. I love them so much. They are great for just that gap between tulips and daffodils, and then your summer perennials. They really fill in the gap really nicely. So harvesting these is easy. You just cut as low to the ground as possible, remove the stems from the lower portion. Yeah, and I've heard that waiting for these blooms to open once or twice will help with vase life, but these seem to have incredibly long vase life anyway. So harvesting is pretty easy for them. And I'm not sure which purple salvia this is, but it is a amazing bush. I know it's a herbaceous perennial, but it turns into quite the bush, and I'm really enjoying this as well. Salvias and veronicas are definitely a favorite for mine, not only for the landscape, but for a filler and spike element for the bouquet as well. And this is my third year with these foxglove. I bought the seeds from Floret, over 3 years ago. So they're a biennial, but they are producing again. So I'm hoping they will perennialize in my area, which it seems like they are. They don't have nearly as many blooms as they did last year, but I'm still very, very happy to have them come back for me. And then yarrow obviously is a perennial as well. My first one to bloom is this muted yellow color, and I'm really, really enjoying it too. Very soft and subtle. So you can do the wiggle test with yarrow to make sure that it's ready to be cut. Otherwise it will wilt in your vase. But yeah, yarrow is such a great, easy grow, beautiful plant in my opinion. And these snapdragons are also from last year. This is the Black Prince variety. And I'm so impressed with second year snapdragons. The stems have become so much longer. Last year they were quite short. So yeah, definitely loving having snapdragons for the second year. Okay, now we're opening up the flower shed. I love this little shed. I keep it very messy, which is what it's for, and it keeps the mess out of the house, which my husband is happy about. So my process for arranging flowers has been an assembly line. I'm just sort of laying piles out on my table. Usually I have two beside each other, and then I can do about 6 bouquets at a time. But right now I didn't have that many flowers blooming. We've had some really cool weather and a lot of rain, which I'm thankful for. But definitely not a ton of flowers blooming at the moment, which was fine because this was a Monday, and the store that I sell the bouquets at, it's not very busy on a Monday. So 3 bouquets was plenty. But yeah, so I'm doing an assembly line, just sort of laying down the flowers in sort of combinations of colors and textures that I find that are pleasing to the eye. Yeah, and just sort of counting as I go. I used to do $1 per stem for my bouquets, but that was definitely underselling myself. So I'm sort of going for about 15 stems and selling for $20, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm doing sort of a pink and purple and yellow on the left, and then a more vibrant red and fuchsia on the right there. It just seems like if I have more options, it gives my customers the most options available. And then this last little bit is peony foliage. I just had it. It was quite long, so I thought might as well use it as a nice little foliage for the bouquets. So once I've made my piles, I grab it in my hand, starting with my spike elements because they are going to be the tallest in my bouquet, sort of just spreading them around in my hand, laying it out sort of like an X pattern, if you've heard of that before. And then these are my peonies. Cutting them at this stage will allow for the longest vase life, but they're sort of underwhelming right now. As you can see, they're only budded up. But I have let my customers know that they will open up and be glorious and much larger. Okay, so just working around those spikes of the foxglove, I'm just sort of placing the rest of my blooms in a nice sort of balanced way, if that makes sense. Yeah, holding it out from myself, just giving it a good look, just making sure that it's even, and yeah. Okay, I'm quite happy with how this looks. I never know how the finished product is going to end up. I just usually follow the flowers' cues and see where they're going to take me. And after this, I snip off the stems, just making sure they're all even so they'll be able to absorb the amount of water they need. And then wrapping an elastic band around one of the strong stems and then just going around and round until it's tight. Just keeping the look that I have. Placing it in water, and then I'm working on the rest. Okay, and the last step is wrapping up my bouquets with this craft paper. So I have seen other people use quite a lot of paper and it almost covers the blooms too much for my opinion. So what I do is you can see I'm cutting it in half and it's actually a little bit of paper I'm using. It's not a lot at all. So once it's cut in half, I'm folding it in half again, adding a slit because that's where the bouquet is going to go, stamping it with my little stamp, and that is how you do it. Pretty simple. I just feel like too much paper really distracts from the blooms, which are, of course, my focus. I want my customers to see more blooms than paper. So here we are wrapping it around, and then I'm doing one staple and then two, and it's done. So there it is. It's just protecting my bouquets, making sure that the stems don't get intertwined and messy. And that's all the paper is there to do. So really quick and easy, and I find that it's a win for me. And my last step is taking pictures and videos for my social media to let my customers know that the store has fresh blooms to be purchased. So here we are. I just set up my iPhone and take videos, and I also let them know that the peonies will get larger because I think that's important to know that these bouquets are only going to get more beautiful. And then on the right hand side, you can see that is at the store where the bouquets are waiting to be purchased. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.